Do you want to make your own tofu, but you have no idea how? I've got you covered. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how you can make the best tofu, show you how easy it is to make your own tofu, and we're also going to put it to the test and see what is actually better, homemade or store-bought tofu. Keep watching. By the way, are you not subscribed yet? Come on, hit that button, hit that like button. You make me super happy. And maybe I will grow my hair back. So thank you, please do it.
First of all, to make the tofu, we need to make our own soy milk. This is the #1 tip I received from a friend who was successful in making her own tofu. I tried once and I failed. The few things that I think I did wrong was: 1, I didn't boil the homemade soy milk enough, not long enough. 2, I used lemon juice as a coagulant and not nigari or gypsum salt, which is what is used for store-bought tofu. And so let's try again and hope it works this time. The first thing we need to do, which I already did, is soak our soybeans overnight. Now we want to go blend it up. What do you think is good? This is going to be too full, right? Maybe I should remove some water. So make sure your blender is not overcrowded, because when it is, you'll make a mess. You want to make sure that there's no big pieces of soybean anymore. Now the next step is to boil this. Plus about 1 liter extra of water, so it will yield more soy milk. We need to bring this to a boil and then let it simmer on a low heat for about 15 minutes. Don't forget to stir occasionally because it might stick to the bottom. Once the soy milk is boiling, reduce the heat and let it simmer for another 15 minutes. You need to be careful of it not boiling over. The bean mixture has been boiling now for approximately 15 minutes. The next step is to sieve it through a cheesecloth like this one. I'll be linking the one I used in the description, so if you want to get those, you can use those. But it's just really important that it's really thin, so the curd doesn't go through, but the milk can still be filtered out of it. So we're going to pour it inside of this. I'm using my camera holder right here to let it sip through. You'll have to find a creative way to be able to hang the cloth bag so it can drip through. Right now it's still way too hot to press it, but once it has cooled down, we can actually go ahead and use our hands to squeeze the liquid out of it. While the soy milk is dripping out on the other side, let's go ahead and create our coagulant, which I'll be using nigari for. Again, I'll link it in the description if you want to get this one, but you have also gypsum salt. I'd suggest going with nigari if this is your first time trying tofu, because it's already difficult enough. It's really simple. All we need to do is mix 2 teaspoons of nigari with 3 tablespoons of water and then dilute it. The curd has almost completely cooled down about 20 minutes later. It's still hot, but it's not too hot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just squeeze everything we can out of it, all the soy milk. Oh, it's actually still quite hot. Now we have come to the last step that is actually probably one of the most important steps and the easiest to mess up. What we need to do is pour the milk into a big pot, heat it up right below boiling, so up to about 70 degrees. And then we're going to add the nigara that we just made, so the coagulant. And it's really important that you don't let it boil. And there's 2 ways that you can check at which point you need to stop. The easiest and probably most accurate method is a thermostat. So when it hits 70-80 degrees, it's ready. You turn off the heat and then you add the coagulant. Mine is ready right now. It's smoking, but it's not boiling. And when I put my finger into it, it's really hot. I can't keep my finger in there. The next step is to pour in the coagulant we just made. Pour it in like that. And we mix it around. So we mix it around a little bit. Almost 15 minutes have passed by and this is how it looks now. The tofu is completely curdled. Now we need to press it. This is the part I've been personally waiting for. There's 2 main options you can go by pressing your tofu. One, of course, is the old way, using books, pots and pans. That's not how we Bgangs do this. We are going to be using the Bgang Tofu Press. Linked in the description, of course. So I actually have never tried this. But I'm really curious to see if it actually works for making your own tofu as well. I think it will work really well to make your own tofu too. Fingers crossed. It's better to first filter your tofu with the bag and then transfer it to the tofu press. It will give you the best result. Otherwise, it's way too wet and will give you some trouble. Put the lid on top. Click. Twist it. Now let this cool down in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, I guess. If you want to press it even firmer, after 30 minutes you can try twisting it again, because it will have pressed out a lot of water, and then you can turn again and it will press out even more. So you will have the firmest tofu ever. I had a busy weekend, so 3 days passed by, leaving the tofu in the fridge. I'm really curious to see how it turned out. Come on in. That's a lot of tofu juice. Juicy, juicy. Let's open it up. Ooh! Wow, that's so firm. This tofu is amazing. And look, you can see this there's kind of these ripples on top of the tofu. Because of the pressure plate that is pushing the tofu down, you can see that there is kind of like a little edge. I'm actually really curious to see how much tofu came out of those 350 grams of soybeans. Almost 500 grams, 486, sorry. The final test to ultimately determine whether it's worth it to make your homemade tofu or just buy store-bought and press it with the tofu press. I'm gonna make a recipe and let 2 people taste the homemade tofu versus the just store-bought pressed tofu. Now comes the truly exciting part, I think. I've got 2 pots of tofu here. So the homemade tofu on the right, the store-bought tofu on the left. I'm gonna season them very basic, only some soy sauce and smoked paprika, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika powder. The cool part about having a Bgang Tofu Press is that you can also use it as a marinating box. Just as I'm doing right now, put the lid on and mix it up. Link in the description. Bgang, the moment we've been waiting for is here. Now, these are the 2 subjects who are going to be trying the tofu. They don't know which is the homemade tofu and which one is the store-bought, so they're going to be blindfolded. Put your hand to the side that you want to try first. Okay, that side first? Yes, okay. Yes. Here? Okay, you can try.
It's nice.
Super
Nice texture.
Yes.
Yes?
Very nice texture.
Okay, the next one.
This one is more dense,
Denser?
denser. The structure is more compact. More.
The first one I found there was more flavor in it. I like the tofu had absorbed more the flavor.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
And this one is a little bit drier. I don't know. I prefer the first one.
You prefer the first one, and you?
Also.
Also the first one?
Yes.
The homemade wins. Homemade for the win.
Oh, yay!